Ask the Messengers, the program that deals with substance abuse, real people telling real stories. Where there is addiction, there is a chance for recovery. We're trying to help save lives on Ask the Messengers.
When I was trying to get clean and when I was trying to really work on my life and when I realized that things needed to get better, I was hopeless, just as I know many of you are, or many of you have been. And the thing that really helped me was hearing other people's stories. I felt like I could never do anything outside of getting high or breaking the law. I felt like there was nothing good ever going to come out of my life. But the more I heard other people's stories, and the more I heard about how other people were overcoming, the more I began to feel inspired and I began to have hope that something good was going to happen for my life.
Today on the Ask the Messengers TV show, real people share real stories about addiction and recovery, plus give a few hope shots for anyone thinking about or currently using drugs or alcohol. Yes, addiction is real, but recovery is possible. The Ask the Messengers TV show begins now.
First experience drinking was actually at the age of 13.
I've been sober for 3 years and 8 months, and my drugs of choice were heroin and meth.
Whenever I was a kid, I just felt like out of place with most people, just like I couldn't connect with them on like an emotional level or like even like a friendship level. I don't know what it was about me that was like that, but it just was always like that. And it really started to affect me, I noticed, after my grandmother died. I noticed that right after, I developed like a really deep sadness, and it was my first encounter with depression. That really was a big part of my life for many, many years, throughout my teens into my 20s. I just turned 23, and it's still a part of my life that I have to take care of. It really unlocked something in me where I was searching for some kind of relief, something to take that pain away. And I found that at the age of 10 with alcohol.
I was very loved as a kid. Didn't have much violence, didn't have much arguing involved. Unless they did it behind doors, I didn't see it. And in my home, it was always okay to cry. It was always okay to show your emotions. It was always okay to talk about your feelings, and not a lot of people get that in life.
I've been sober almost 13 years. June 16, 2007 will be my sobriety birthday, so I'll be 13. And my drug of choice was what you got, whatever you have. But I've tried all kinds of drugs throughout my life. I was addicted to many of them, heroin, opium, but methamphetamine brought me to my knees. It was my demise. Smoked marijuana for a long time. I huffed gas. I did a lot of designer drugs, a lot of ecstasy, a lot of club drugs and things like that. Crack, got addicted to crack for a long time too. And so, polysubstance abuser, I did all kinds of drugs. I mixed drugs together. I drank a lot of alcohol because I felt like the alcohol and drugs together would enhance each other. They complemented each other. I could go a lot longer, a lot harder, depending on what I was using. If I used stimulants with depressants, I could get the real effect that I thought that was being produced through a depressant, like alcohol.
All right, so my name is Ricky P. I have just a little under a year of sobriety. My most recent drug of choice was fentanyl, but I've also had a problem with meth. I've had a problem with cocaine. I've had a problem with crack. I've had a problem with psychedelics. I had a problem with alcohol. And I've also had a problem with Xanax.
I've been sober for 6 years. Got sober in 2014.
165.4 million people aged 12 or older have used a substance.
My cousin said that it would be a good idea for me to drink with them, and he asked my mom if I could drink with them, and my dad was like, no, that's not good. And my mom was kind of like, yeah, let him see what it's like, So I drank for the first time at the age of 13. It was like, 6 shots of tequila. It was a strange experience. I woke up with a hangover. My family was really disconnected. They weren't really, we weren't really a family unit. My daddy kind of worked and did his own thing. My mom did her own thing. She stayed in the room. My mom was doing drugs. My dad probably occasionally, I never really saw him at a young age. He kind of hid it from me. It wasn't like an open thing. It wasn't like an open culture. You know, just kind of did the normal thing where I got a job and got my own place.
I think what I enjoyed the most is my head finally stopped. I finally felt as comfortable as I had always wanted to feel, and I didn't like feeling incapable of doing things, so when I mixed them both, that was like the perfect combination for me to feel like I could do anything that I wanted.
I remember the first time that I really tried to get drunk. I knew what alcohol did to people. Like, as a kid, they give it to you and it's like, well, I'll spit it out, it's gross. But I knew what it did. I knew the purpose of drinking. I remember the first time I got drunk on my own, I was 10 and I waited until everyone in my house fell asleep. I snuck out of my room and went into a liquor cabinet and I poured myself a shot of whiskey. It kind of changed everything. It was an immediate relief. Just as soon as it went down and I could start feeling the effects, it was saying, whoa, this is what you need, dude. This is gonna take that pain away.
We were taking my friend's dad's alcohol and he had some wild turkey, and my friends just wanted to drink beer, but I just needed more, you know, and I couldn't get where I wanted to be. So I just started taking shots of wild turkey, and they were drinking beer and I was drinking beer, and I didn't know what it felt like. So we all ended up crashing out and I didn't really feel anything, and I wake up and I'm in the bathtub. I was in the bathtub, his mom's trying to wash the puke off me, and there wasn't any thought in my mind that I'm not going to try this again.
When I did meth, I felt like I could be highly productive. I could get a lot more done. I would start all these projects and I would just pile them up and have them all going. And I'd work on this one for a little bit, and I had ADD really bad. So like I'd go from this one to that one, from that one to this one, that one to that one. But they were always unfinished projects. But still, like in my mind, I felt like I'm going to accomplish. I'm going to do this and that. I'll build a robot out of all these pieces of metal in my garage. You know, so like I really thought that I could be more productive. I was going to school for a short amount of time too. It was an art school, and like I had all of these projects, so like I thought if I do more meth, I could stay up later and get more stuff done in my art, respective art field. But you know, I would overkill in the end. So as much as I thought that it was something that I really enjoyed and I loved, I really hated it because it was bringing me down.
My father is a general contractor and owns a company in Detroit. I grew up out there in Michigan, right outside Detroit, in a little town called West Bloomfield. And my mom is also, she's an attorney, so she has a little private practice in Michigan. So when I was growing up, it was kind of, you know, I had a pretty good childhood. It was, how do I say, like, you know, I was, you know, pretty comfortable, upper middle class. Didn't really want for anything. My drug of choice was alcohol, so I drank a ton, and I experimented with other drugs as well. Like I smoked a lot of weed during my time of, you know, when I wasn't sober. The fun part about it was partying. Like I love to be around people. I love to talk to people. When I was using, that's what I also craved too. I craved self-expression, and drinking alcohol, getting really drunk or getting really high, smoking weed is a way for you to allow yourself to push that limit, right? Go over that threshold, leave your inhibitions behind, and just do something crazy. From there, it cascades. It cascaded into me just drinking because I could, or maybe that's what I was telling myself, or just drinking because like I was sad, or I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like I was an outsider, or just, you know, at the end of my run, really just being like, I know I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die soon, and if somebody doesn't come and kill me, which I always thought that somebody was gonna come and shoot me for some reason. I don't know why, but that had always been in my head. I'm like, if somebody's not gonna come and kill me, then I'm going to just keep drinking until I die, until I drink myself to death.
Stay tuned for more of Ask the Messengers.
The world is opening up, and when it opens, you want to be ready. Concerts, clubs, weddings, dinner with friends, or just hanging out. Soon, Detroit will be back, and you know how we do it. For 3 decades, Fashion International has been here when you needed to look your best, and that time is coming again. Check us out now. We have the latest styles to have you ready for the new normal. Fashion International, 10 Mile and Greenfield.
Hi, my name is Artesia Washington, and I'd like to welcome you to Irvine Newer Rehab, where we help you reach your goals of rehabilitation. So you ask, why choose Irvine? Now here at Irvine, we offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language pathology, counseling, aquatic therapy, and massage therapy. And we help build you back to your previous level of functioning. Give us a call, 248-415-2500, www.irvineneurorehab.com.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available.
You can pay online by visiting the Wayne County Treasurer's Office website. Paying online is easy and convenient.
You can also download the mobile app and pay with your smartphone.
You can pay at one of 70 kiosks located throughout Wayne County.
And yes, you can always still send in your payments using the U.S. Postal Service.
If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. Your health and safety is very important to us. You can also email our office at taxinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990.
Underage drinking is responsible for more than 4,300 deaths of youth annually. DWIHN, along with its provider partners, strive to educate young people on the deadly dangers of alcohol use and abuse. We teach youth about the dangers of drinking, especially when driving. If you are looking for resources to share with your loved one, give the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network a call, 24/7, 800-241-4949. Here to talk, here to help. More than 2.5 million Americans are addicted to opioids. The addiction is sometimes developed through the improper use of prescription painkillers. Using prescribed medication in ways or amounts not intended by a doctor is very dangerous. So it's important that unused prescriptions are properly disposed of. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, or for more information about prevention, treatment, and recovery services, or how to properly dispose of medication, contact the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network, 24/7, 800-241-4949. Here to talk, here to help.
165.4 million people aged 12 or older have used a substance.
Around the age of 25 or 26, I was working in a liquor store in a neighborhood I grew up in. But for me, I started drinking at the end of my shift, and it became a more common thing. It started off a couple times a week, and then it became like 4 or 5 times a week, and then we'd go out afterwards, and it became more and more frequently and more frequently. So one day I had already been drinking while working, and a guy came through the drive-through, and he was breaking up some white powder in front of me. And at the age of 26, I decided to try cocaine for the first time. I said, "Hey, do you mind if I get some of that?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So we did the transaction. I went into the bathroom and I did it, and that's kind of where everything kind of took off at the age of 26. The cocaine addiction escalated very quickly, and that increased my drinking quite a bit. If I wanted to wake up or I wanted to sober up a bit and continue the party a little bit, I would do some cocaine. If I wanted to go to sleep or I wanted to take it down a little bit, I would do some drinking. And so I kind of began to control my moods with drugs and alcohol. I used to have this habit of not talking about things until I had to. At that point in the liquor store, I was drinking before my shift even ended.
The first drug I tried was weed. I was 12 years old, living in Canada, and I was really, really depressed at the time. I had a lot of suicidal ideation at a young age. We were partying in the forest somewhere and smoked weed out of a can, and I thought it was so cool and so different, and it felt like a different way to connect with people that I hadn't experienced before. And I just remember being a little annoyed that I didn't feel it as strongly as I thought I would. but I just remember laughing and not caring about what was happening, and that was always the goal. It started with weed and alcohol when I was 12, and then we moved back to California, and I spent a year being homeschooled for my freshman year of high school, and then in 10th grade I went to a massive high school with like over 1,000 kids in my graduating class. And the people that I ended up becoming friends with were the party people. It was like the massive group of people that were always, you know, drinking or smoking weed and throwing big parties. And through those people that I met, and I think I was, I don't know, maybe 14, 15 at the time, I met another group of people, except all of these people were out of high school and they were not in college or maybe had done some college, and they were all over 21, and I thought that was so cool, and they were all in bands, and I thought that was so different and fun, and they all did a whole bunch of drugs that I had never tried before. Every time I would hang out with them, they were the garbage disposals. They would always have a different drug every weekend, and every single time I never said no, and I always wanted to try it. So I went through all of like the hallucinogens, started using benzos, started doing coke every weekend, and it just kind of kept escalating from there. Did a lot of ecstasy and acid. And I just never said no whenever something was around. So eventually heroin got brought around, and that was the first one I tried out of the two. And I remember everyone was so annoyed with me that I wanted to try it because they thought I was too young to use heroin. But of course, it didn't take too long for me to convince anyone to let me try it. And I was able to keep it to just the weekends, even with heroin, for a surprisingly long period of time before it just took one time where I was like, you know what, I feel great. I'm going to start using tomorrow morning and just use all day.
I didn't want anyone to know that I was drinking. That kind of mindset always stuck with me, like, you need to hide this because this is a bad thing. I think it got worse when I entered high school. I was hanging out with a lot more people, going out on my own. Like, I would buy alcohol from like friends who I knew could get it, would get it from people who I knew would buy for me. I was constantly drinking, and I don't think anyone knew how much I was drinking. They knew something was wrong. They knew something wasn't quite right with me, but they didn't know exactly what it was, because I kept my personal, like my drinking, very, very hidden.
Went from alcohol to pot during the week, and it wasn't an everyday thing at first. It was just on the weekends and special occasions, and because I have sports that benefit me, so I can't let that get in the way. And then girls got involved, and so I had these like 4 core things that I focused on in high school, and education and my parents, my family, those weren't important to me. And into high school, it really wasn't an issue. Like, that's what you do, it's a phase, you know, and all the feelings of being less than, I think, affected me way more than I gave it credit for.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I definitely got a good education as a kid, growing up where I was growing up, but I was brown and I was Iranian, I was Persian. I felt like I didn't fit in a lot of times because I didn't have the same skin color as my peers. I didn't have the same religion as them. I grew up in the same neighborhoods as them. I felt like sometimes that they dressed better than me or had better clothes than me, or like their parents gave them more than me. So I felt neglected in that sense, but that's only because I was part of the material. Like, I wanted the material stuff. I started to be drawn to, you know, I would watch these certain movies and see, you know, kids that were like the ones that were messing around, and that it became something that looked a little more attractive for me to go after, was to go against the grain and start doing things that aren't good for me. First time I ever started using was, you know, there was a period of time, like, obviously my dad would give me little sips of cognac and beer off of his drinks, right? That was in very young ages, and that's just because we were in a party setting with all of the adults, and he thought that it looked cute for the young little boy to have a sip of beer or a sip of cognac, even cognac, yeah. That's my first drink was cognac. But I remember mowing lawns in Salt Lake City, Utah in the summertime for my uncle, and I would go and retreat back to a shed in my alone time at the end of a long day when it was hot, and take the gasoline and sit on the ground and sniff it. Like, I don't even know where I got the idea to sniff it, but I did. And after you would sniff enough of it, it would give me this euphoric feeling. I believe that my first using, like heavy using, to get out of right here, right now, was during that year, 12 years old, between huffing, weed, and alcohol.
What I really enjoyed about fentanyl was that it made me so high that I literally didn't have to think about anything or really do anything. It made me really feel really good on the inside, and I don't know, I guess it was just that, I don't know, like almost dying feeling, which is pretty awful to say, but right on the edge of like almost dying was like one of the best feelings ever.
I got into a head-on collision. I was blacked out drunk in the car. I don't even remember getting into the car. So like I put on a costume. It was like a costume party. I put on a costume, snuck out, and just ended up going to this party, right? So I'm at this party and I get a whole case of beer. My whole thing was like I would always get a 30 rack and try to drink the whole thing. I'm going in and out. I don't know what happens. I just know I end up at another party. So I'm at this party and we're just going. At this point, it's probably 2 a.m. I got into the accident around 3 a.m. So I start leaving and somehow I get back to my car. I don't know. But next thing I know is I'm in the car and I'm driving and I'm like going in and out. Like I don't realize that I'm driving, but also in my mind, I'm thinking I'm playing a game. I'm thinking I'm playing a game in my head. So I'm like, you know, like kind of faking out cars on the road. And I'm like doing that. And I'm like, oh, almost got you. Oh, almost got you. Oh. All I remember is after that, I'm waking up in my car and the windshield is in on my face. And there's like these oldies playing on the radio. And there's just screams in the dark. Like I hear, and everything is like complete darkness though. Cause I'm in an area where it's a back road. At this point, I've been browning out. Like I'm at the party, I'm talking to this guy. Next thing I know, I'm in the car fighting with these guys. Next thing I know, I'm at another party. Next thing I know, I'm in my car. Next thing I know, the windshield's in on my face and I'm hearing screaming. And I remember at that moment, I remember feeling like a sigh of relief, like, okay, this was the bad thing that was gonna happen to me. And now somebody can make me stop drinking.
We'll be right back with more of Ask the Messengers.
Underage drinking is responsible for more than 4,300 deaths of youth annually. DWIHN, along with its provider partners, strive to educate young people on the deadly dangers of alcohol use and abuse. We teach youth about the dangers of drinking, especially when driving. If you are looking for resources to share with your loved one, give the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network a call, 24/7, 800-241-4949. Here to talk, here to help. More than 2.5 million Americans are addicted to opioids. The addiction is sometimes developed through the improper use of prescription painkillers. Using prescribed medication in ways or amounts not intended by a doctor is very dangerous. So it's important that unused prescriptions are properly disposed of. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, or for more information about prevention, treatment, and recovery services, or how to properly dispose of medication, contact the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network, 24/7, 800-241-4949. Here to talk, here to help.
If you or someone you know is battling with any type of cancer, you need to read the book by Laverne Moore Slaughter, God Encounters Are Real. In her book, she tells how through prayer and faith, God healed her and set her free from stomach cancer. For more information and to get your copy, visit www.encountersarereal.net.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available. If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. You can also email our office at taxinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990.
4.2 million people aged 12 or older received substance use treatment.
The advice that I would offer someone who is still struggling is that bottom is as soon as we stop digging, right? We're the type of people that, at least for me, homelessness didn't matter. Being close to death didn't matter. I always thought there might be something that would happen one day that would finally make me want to stop enough. But really, it was just as soon as I stopped digging, that's when my bottom was. I needed help, and I think the biggest message that I would want to say is that, like, there is a solution and it works, because I didn't think there was one. I thought I was irreparably damaged, and that could not have been further from the case. There were so many people that have helped me and continue to help me on a daily basis become, the person that I want to be and be able to help other people. And so the help is available, and people care, and people have been through it, and they've been exactly where you are. We're different, but not that different at all. We are very much the same, and there's a solution for all of us.
I'm grateful to God first because He never let me go. The Lord never let me go. He gave me the opportunity to have a new life. He gave me the opportunity to create a relationship with Him. He was just there the whole time. He never actually went anywhere. My advice to anybody who is, if you're still struggling with addiction, is to first off go to meetings, because when you go to a meeting, you're going to get something.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Ask the Messengers TV show. We hope something you heard today helped you in some way to understand addiction and to give anyone struggling the desire to surrender and seek help. If you or someone you know is experiencing anything that seems to be too hard to handle, please know there is a way out, and don't hesitate or be afraid to seek help. Until next time, may you seek a power greater than yourself so that you too can turn your mess into a message that will help save lives. Continue to stay safe, and most importantly, be kind and love one another.
Won't you help us to do exactly what our motto is, and that is to help save lives? Won't you send a generous donation to the information there on the screen? We would love to have you as part of our partnership to help save lives. You may not be able to go out in the street, you may not be able to come here to the show, but you can send your donation that helps us save lives.